Yeah, were there any initial conversations of, because this is the NCAA tournament and all the excitement and emotions that that brings of not getting too caught up in that and just going out and playing the X's and O's of the game? Where did you guys have any concerns about that, or was it kind of business as usual?
Not at all, man. Emotions, that's good. You know, our emotions always help us play better to a certain extent. Throughout the season, we've never let our emotions derail us from what we had to accomplish or short us from a goal or winning a game. So it's like no need to discuss it now if it never been a problem throughout the whole year, you know. So emotions is good for everybody to have that feeling to want to go out there and just win, and the excitement, all those things is needed.
My last question for you is: Boynton tweeted out his previous seniors and kind of thanked them, in building the foundation. You were part of some of those teams. How important were those players in helping this program get to this moment?
Man, that was really important, man. That foundation always had to be set. You know, something just doesn't start out of the blue. Just like you got to plant a seed for it to grow over time, it's the same thing with a basketball program. Somebody has to come in and set the foundation. And when Coach B came here as a head coach his first year, that first team had to establish a foundation, which I believe that they did. And so over the years, it's just been growing and growing. And luckily, thanks to them, we're here where we are today, being able to play here in the NCAA tournament.
I appreciate you, guys.
Our next question from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, I see you'll go against a former classmate tomorrow. Just kind of what will the emotions be like? I guess have you kept up with Maurice at all?
Yeah, man, that's my guy. That's my friend, man. It's like I said, I don't know if I'm just not like an emotional guy, or like I don't just have too many feelings towards things, but I just see it as like another game again. You know, I don't know if he's excited or not, but he's a great player. So, you know, it's always, I've been rooting for him the whole year. I've been watching multiple games. I always like to see other people's success. You know, I find joy in other people's success, especially people that I know and that I consider my friend. So I just hope he goes out there and I hope he plays good, but just not good enough to beat us. I hope.
Whenever you guys talk, what do you talk about?
Never basketball, honestly. We just whenever we do talk to each other, you know, we don't talk to each other like every single day, but whenever we do call each other or text each other, it's just like, how you doing? I'm good. How's life? You know, things like that. We don't really talk. We don't ever talk basketball at all. Really.
That first summer on campus, I remember Mike put you freshmen in a scenario where you guys were going against, the upperclassmen. You guys were getting worked pretty hard. I don't think you scored in like 5 minutes. Kind of how formidable were kind of those situations for you guys, and how close did that class grow? Obviously, you're the only guy left now.
Man, we all grew real close, man. All of us still stay in contact with each other. All of us still talk. You know, my boy Duncan over there doing his thing. Kent talk to him all the time. I talk to him. Mo, I talk to him. So it's like even Chico, Mike Cunningham, I talked to him. We just got done talking yesterday. So, you know, there's bonds that I've built that freshman year that just will never be broken. So it's good.
Appreciate it, guys.
Our next question is from Jacob. Go ahead, Jacob.
So I wanted to ask, you get to play in Hinkle Fieldhouse tomorrow. Do you understand, the significance of that arena and what that means to you?
I don't even know what that is.
Well, fair enough.
Oh, that's the Hoosiers place?
Yeah.
What's this? Can you tell me? Can you give me a clue?
It's the Hoosiers building. It's one of the most historic venues in the country. I didn't know if you realized kind of the importance of that place or not.
Oh, well, I mean, from the world's aspect, I guess it is pretty important. For mine, it's just honestly another gym, to be honest.
Hey, that's fair. That takes pressure off, right? So
yeah, I like playing at Gallagher. That's historic. Gallagher is historic. I like that.
Have you seen Hoosiers?
They sweatpants. I like they sweatpants. They warm ups with the stripes, the pinstripe sweats. Those ones is crazy. If we could get some of those, man, that'd be great.
So he's talking about the movie Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Oh man, I ain't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Man. Steven, I think you need a movie night this week.
What's that about?
It's the Indiana basketball team back in. I don't even. Steven, you gotta have a movie night. You
So
just.
I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So it's a high school basketball team in Indiana, tiny small town, but they go up against the big boys in Indianapolis and win the state championship against all odds. And the final takes place in Hinkle Fieldhouse, where we'll play tomorrow. So
yeah,
true story.
See, but it's like I didn't grow up in like a basketball family. So,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't even start watching college basketball till 10th, 9th grade, like 9th, 10th grade, you know. So I don't know. Maybe I do need to go do my.
Yeah, I mean it's all right. You know, it's worth asking. I feel like, and this has been a fun exchange here with you. But on basketball topics, the defense tonight, right now, how do you guys feel confident-wise with your defense? Because on a night last night where shots aren't falling, you guys were really able to lean back on that defense.
Our defense has always been our best attribute on this team, our defense. So as long as we know we can hold the other team to scoring less than us, then we'll be fine. Yesterday there was a lot of blown assignments, but we were still able to hold them within 60. But as we go further and further, we're gonna have to tighten up if we really plan on trying to do some things here. So starting next game, we just got to be a little bit better than we was last game. So that's all we got to focus on. Next game is the only game that we're 100% sure we're gonna play.
I'm gonna go historical on you again, but this is OSU history. The 04-05 teams got deep in the tournament, and they did it with a lot of their defense. Do you know much about those teams and kind of how you guys are throwing it back maybe to that a little bit with the defense?
Yeah, I know a little bit about those teams. Whenever I watched, though, it was one game. Who was they playing? Marcus Camby? Was that? Yeah, that game was crazy. I was watching that game, and that game was a show. I didn't even know Trey Reed's pops was that good until I just watched it, and I was like, yeah, that defense. It was just crazy. They give me that same feel that we have, from post presence to good guard play, to good scrappy defensive guards. And then they also had some players that could really guard multiple positions too, So I see a lot of similarities in us and them.
Does that give you more confidence moving forward, considering they made that kind of run that you guys can do this too?
I think I have all the confidence because I feel like we're just us, and Coach B. I believe in Coach B like never before, man. He's the man with the plan since day one. And, I've always stuck with my guy, even through the ups and downs. So I've always had my faith in him and believed in him. So I'm never going to stop, and why stop now? So if he says we can go all the way through, I believe him too.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyson. Go watch Hoosiers later.
Yes, sir. I got
you. Jenny Carlson, you are up next. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hey, Isaac, I love that you called Big Country Trey Reeves' dad. There's so many Cowboy fans out there that don't think of him as Trey's dad, but I love that you do.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to actually ask you, Coach was talking last night, and actually Cade was the other day as well, about the meeting that you guys had after the Kansas game. Coach said it was like the 2 days after. And it was really a meeting that he felt like was transformational for this team, just to really hold everybody accountable. What do you remember from that, and how do you think it's affected you guys?
It's helped us out big time. A lot of things sometimes doesn't have to do with just basketball things. And, the things that we did talk about that we had to handle, we got handled. So sometimes whenever you have other distractions going on around you and your team, it could affect how you play on the floor. So we eliminated those distractions. Everybody put their focus a little bit more. And even through injuries, through sicknesses, through different plethora of different obstacles that we had this year, we was able to overcome with the people that was out there, whether we were missing 2 or 3 guys, 1 guy. So, that really did help us, that conversation that we had. And it helped everybody focus in and just really want to just be great.
Is it an accountability thing? Is it a trust thing? What do you how do you, when you think about, the fact that you guys have been able to win, 7-9 since then, beat some really good teams. What is it that you took away most and you think the team took away most from that?
Just getting back to the basics and the principles, and especially the principles of this program. Coach B definitely preaches accountability, responsibility, discipline, and and appreciation. Those are our top 4 pillars. And it felt like for a second we forgot those things. Everybody on the team. So sometimes you need the leader to just pull you back in to remind you, hey, these are things we stand on. This is what we need to focus on. These are things that we do. And so, we had to just come back in and focus on those 4 pillars. And once we did, everybody got to playing better. As you can see, Avery, he's playing the best he's played in his life, if you ask me. Cade, he's playing great right now. I know he had a little, maybe off shooting night yesterday, but still was able to affect the game in multiple ways. And May, he had a great game yesterday, crashing the glass. Caleb Boone, Keelan Boone, when he gets in there, his productivity in such a short amount of minutes that he plays is really crazy, if you ask me. Like, he's really productive in the short amount of minutes he plays, and it just shows out throughout the whole team. Me, I just try to do what I can. Even if it's not a whole bunch of scoring I'm doing this year, different things like that. I know people used to seeing me do that kind of thing, but this year it's been more of a team focused thing for me. When you have such a great player on your team, sometimes it's cool to defer. Sometimes to you gotta let him be who he is. That's the reason why we here. You got the furthest that we have this year. Everybody has to sacrifice something, and so I'm just happy to be winning. I'm happy to just be here and playing games, and I just feel blessed, honestly. So I'm focused on more every day. I'm focused on the team more than me. It's a we thing, everybody.
Well, and last night you guys really kind of cranked it up when you moved a point to start the second half, and maybe that wasn't sort of a high point move for you, but that really changed the complexion of the game last night.
It wasn't nothing new to me because
right.
I've been used to doing that. So when Coach B just made the adjustment at half, I was like, oh, okay. But I've never been the type of guy to complain like, hey, Coach, I need the ball in my hand. Like, I'm just trying to be out there and do what I can for our team to win. So if he ever calls that adjustment again, then I'll do it. If he needs me to do other things, I'll do those other things. Right now it's just about winning. That's what it's all about.
Hey, one quick question. I hear that Cade's been cutting hair. Is there any chance he's gotten his clippers on you?
Nah, Cade does cut hair. He actually is a good barber, but I'm good. I'm good on it right now. I might let him give me a little edge up or something, but right now I'm good. I wear a headband and I got long dreads, so you can't even see my hairline half the time out there. So I'm fine.
Who's his most constant customer? Does he have a guy that he sees all the time?
His brother.
Oh, perfect. Gotcha. Thanks, Ice.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We have a follow-up from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Ice, how's the bubble aspect been? What are you doing in your free time?
Honestly, I'm a guy that loves to sleep. So I'm having no problem with the bubble. I'm sleeping. I'm watching YouTube all the time. Like, I like to watch interviews a lot. I like to watch, like, celebrity interviews, like rappers interviews. My favorite athlete is Conor McGregor. Like, regardless of sport, Conor McGregor is my favorite athlete, possibly of all time, regardless of sport. I watch his interviews. I watch his workouts. And then LeBron James, I watch his barbershop episodes, how I love watching interviews and different things of people. UFC, I watch all their vlogs, different vlogs coming up, like UFC 255, 250, some different things like those coming up. Jorge Masvidal and Usman gonna fight in a little while. I've been watching some vlogs and different things, keeping up with that. So, I watch everything but basketball, which is, but unless it's us, I love to watch us and LeBron James. I watch that all the time. I don't miss us or LeBron James. But other than that, I'm just really just relaxing.
A bunch of people in the NBA bubble, they started vlogging. Do you think you'll get on that train?
I get nervous on camera. Even with y'all, like whenever I'm talking with y'all, I get nervous. That's why sometimes I do. I give him. I give.
I'm a pretty intimidating figure. I can see why you would get nervous. Thanks, guys.
So,
Callie Kaplan from the Dallas Morning News. Go ahead, Callie.
Hey, I'm writing a story about Cade and kind of his roots starting in the Dallas area. So I'm curious, what do you remember from playing against him, whether it was in middle school, high school, and just kind of your impressions of him before he kind of became Cade Cunningham, future #1 pick?
First, I want to make just a little correction. Arlington area. We don't like to associate. We like to make it its own city. It's really a tri-city area now. Like it's Arlington, Fort Worth, and Dallas. So Arlington's own. Like you feel me? It's its own. We're trying to make it its own. And it is big enough to be its own. We got the Rangers there. We got the Cowboys in there. So, but yeah, Cade, he's just always been a relaxed guy. He just likes to have fun. And basketball has made him have fun all the time and made him happy. So that's what he stuck with. We never played against each other. We always knew of each other. Same friends. Our schools was only about 7 minutes, not even 7 minutes, about 5 minutes apart from each other. We always ran into each other. And, he was just a good guy to be around. I never played against him or played with him, but off the court, yeah, he was a good guy to be around. Great energy.
How would you describe that demeanor? Like, are there any examples or stories from when you guys crossed paths that you think kind of like show his even keel or his maturity that way?
No, I don't really just remember too many stories like or anything. We don't really just have too many memories like that before we came up here, besides USA. But every time you see Cade, it's always a good time. He's laughing. It's, like I said, it's just good energy. He's somebody you want to be around. There's never a dull moment with him.
We have time for one more last follow-up. Jacob, go ahead.
You're watching everything but Hoosiers in the bubble. That's what you're telling us. I get it. No, we haven't asked you. You feel like, to me, it looks like you're getting more comfortable with your shot. How's your hand feeling right now?
It's all good. Day's work, man. No complaining. Just every day I'm trying to go out there and get the job done, man. You know me, no excuses about anything. If I'm out there, I got to produce regardless what nicks and knacks I got going on. I've always been that kind of guy. So I'm feeling better day by day, but some things just won't get right in the short amount of time that we have. Only thing I didn't like that was frustrating on my mental part was not being able to work out and stuff like that. Like I was sitting out and coming right back playing, but that just shows the trust that the staff has in me to just be able to even do that with me, And these guys, they instill great confidence in me every day to just go out there and be who I am. And, I trust them and they trust me. So it makes it easier to play that way.
So what were you doing while you were out? Like if you couldn't work out, were you just conditioning or what were you doing?
Yeah, I was just conditioning, lifting a little weights, but I wasn't touching no basketballs or shooting no basketballs, things like that. First time I was doing that was the day before West Virginia game. Yeah, the day before we played West Virginia at Big 12, and then I played the next day.
I saw you kind of play ball boy for, I think, D after the last game in Gallagher. How about your role kind of as a leader and you were coaching a lot, maybe in the sidelines there too, but moments like that too, how big are they for you to kind of help the guys out like that?
It's like that wasn't even a leadership moment for me. Like I feel like D, that's my brother, and I just like to be around him, vice versa with him. So anytime we can just be around each other, it just feels like good times, whether that's on the court, on the bus, in the locker room, So it was more like us just being out there. It was more just us having a conversation while he was just shooting. That's exactly what he was doing. He was just shooting. We was having a conversation, laughing, having a good time. So it was like we was just hanging out.
Awesome. Thanks, Ice.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. We're going to send Ice to practice, but we'll slide Coach Boynton into that seat right now. Thank you, guys. Hang tight just a second. Well, First off, congratulations on that win last night. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on the fact that ICE did not know what the movie Hoosiers was. I didn't know if any of our media members were going to start off with that. Anyway, we'll get started with a first question from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
I apologize, guys.
Yeah, Mike, I was going to ask you for an explanation on that. Is there anything else?
I got nothing. I mean, I'm trying to teach a lot. Man, these guys got all good parents, but apparently there's some things that just aren't that important anymore. We've gotten away from that. And I'll be honest, people keep asking me about how our guys are dealing with the bubble. This is probably, and I think it's kind of sad in a little ways, it's maybe the least social team I've ever been around. We can't even get these guys to stay down here and eat together in our team meeting room when we're allowed to do that. So they just grab their food to go and sit in their rooms. And I don't know what they're doing. Obviously, they're not watching basketball movies in their rooms. But I'm sure there's some cool sitcoms or whatever on Netflix. And I'm sure there's plenty of video games we played.
Yeah, Ice gave us an update. He likes to watch interviews and LeBron shop talk.
There you go.
Sleep. Important.
Sleep's a big deal to these guys.
I wanted to ask, I saw your tweet, you thanking your previous seniors, for the contributions. Why was that so important to you to give them their credit in this moment?
Because it's easy to forget them. They're not here. That first group I referenced, I said all the time, they could have made things very challenging for me back in 2017. I didn't have a whole lot of credibility to stand on, but I had a benefit of having gotten to know most of those guys, really all of them, the year prior, except Kendall, recruited him. But those guys fully embraced what I wanted our program to be about. And I said it, from that day, Mitchell Solomon may be the single most important person in our program at the time, partly because of who he is as a person. And I think his vision of how you go about life aligns with mine. And at a time where he had been through a lot, he didn't make it about himself. He tried to help his teammates have success and tried to help me have success. So I'm forever indebted to those guys. And then, enough's been written, but I don't think the story can ever be told enough about the seniors from last year. Being recruited by a coaching staff, showing up to campus to another. A year later, here I am trying to lead them in the midst of it all, losing a teammate. Just a lot that these guys have endured, and they stuck with the process and really gave our staff the ability to build something kind of without them being able to be beneficiaries of it. I mean, in many ways, and obviously I hated the way it ended for last year's group, but certainly I'll never forget all that they sacrificed and worked at to give us a chance to be here.
Yeah, I know there was a point last season where you had mentioned that at the moment you bring this program back to consistent national relevance, those players will not be any less important than the players that you did that with on that team. And looking at what Isaac has been able to do for you and him being your bona fide leader, how much did he benefit from that group being able for him to step into this bona fide leadership role this year?
Well, I mean, Ice is not any less significant, but in a different way. He didn't go through as much as the class from last year did. Lindy, Thomas, and Cam, and Trey Reeves in the totality. Not so far. Still another year if he decides that he's going to finish it here and not look at professional route. But outside those guys, he's been through the gamut of it all. He's got a 20-loss season that he can claim. I'm not sure he wants to claim it, but he's got it forever. He had the experience of doing USA basketball here. He's gotten better. He watched Thomas and Cam and Lindy fight through injuries and learned how to do that himself. And now he's unquestionably our leader in terms of experience, in terms of toughness. And so, what he brings to our team every day is what you saw yesterday. I mean, I don't even know what his stat line was, but I know he was very, very important to us having success because he really cares at a high level.
Thank you, Mike.
Our next question from Jacob. Go ahead, Jacob.
Mike, well, I think one of our USA Today reporters was reporting that you've declined your bonuses this postseason. Can you kind of walk us through the decision making there and why?
There's not really anything to talk about here. I don't even know how this became a story, to be perfectly honest. The department had some challenges, and we were all asked to make sacrifices. And at the end of the day, it's what it's about, and thought it was important that as leaders, our head coaches this story's been written before, so it's not really anything new to report. This is a part of understanding your part in trying to help a department have success. And so I'm no different than, Chris Young or Kenny Gajewski or Colin Carmichael. Those guys have been tremendous in terms of helping me have success. And so it's really a non-story, to be perfectly honest, at least in my opinion. But
yeah, no, I appreciate it. I was the one asking Ice earlier about Hoosiers, and it threw me off because I did not expect him to say he had not seen it. Yeah. I assume you've seen it probably multiple times. What does playing in Hinkle Fieldhouse mean to you tomorrow?
I mean, it's one of the most historic venues in basketball, not just college basketball. And for us to have our program here, to be able to experience it, and obviously what I need to do is kind of educate these guys and give them a little background on it so that they understand the gravity of the moment, because I never want them to think too far ahead. I want them to live in the moment, and going over to Hinkle Fieldhouse and being able to play a game is one of those moments that you should always remember as a college basketball player.
Is it in some ways good that they may not understand the gravity of that arena, the magnitude that they're about to walk into at that place?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one thing that's helped this group. I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, they're so I don't want to say disconnected because that's going to sound negative, but like there's so little that like matters. These dudes just love to hoop. Like they just really love to play ball. Like they don't get caught up in much of anything. I talked about the quarantine. It hasn't been that big a deal. They looked at the schedule at the end of the year and said, let's go compete. I mean, obviously they came here understanding what's kind of was hanging over our heads in terms of possibly not being able to play in the event. And it's who they are. And I think it's why we've been able to have some of the success we've had in spite of some of what may be perceived as great challenges, is because they feel like as long as they have a chance to go out there and play, that they're going to be able to find a way to have success as a group. And
defensively right now, I know you talked last night, it's good to be able to fall back on the defense when the offense isn't necessarily getting shots to fall. It's a little bit of throwback too. You're going to Hinkle and you've got your throwback defense kind of working right now too. Kind of talk about just maybe how big this defense has been for you down in this key stretch.
It's been really good for us at several different points of the season. I go back to our game against Marquette, third or fourth game of the year. I'm kind of lose track now. And it was really my first time really once the season had started to think that we had something that could be special, is because we had a bunch of young guys who had to do something really on the fly. We hadn't played a whole lot of zone up to that point. And about 4 minutes into that game, we had some foul trouble, and I wasn't sure it was going to work out playing man-to-man. And we went to the zone and played it for about 35 minutes and found a way to win. So we've been able to hang our hat on it from time to time. And I'm hopeful that our offensive jitters or lack of execution yesterday will kind of be behind us because of the new experience. But it feels good knowing that if it is an issue, that we can still count on our defense to hold us down while we get our offense on track.
That's kind of the trademark of teams in OSU that have made runs in the tournament too, is defense under Eddie.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I spoke of my, kind of looking ahead to playing against that 04 team. I'm not really sure that I wanted that. I think I did. They were really good, obviously. But I like to think I would have been ready for the challenge. Too bad I didn't get the opportunity. So for me, it's always been about trying to restore the pride and how this program's run, how we play basketball, and what our fans expect to see when they watch us play.
Thanks, Mike.
Next question from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned all the things that, the Lindy and Thomas group had to go through. Were you able to take a moment yesterday whenever you walk out, you see, the March Madness logo on the court, you're about to play? Were you ever kind of like take in that moment for a little bit?
Well, I haven't. For me right now, it's about these guys and letting them understand how special I think what they're doing is. And, one thing I remind them is, some people would say it was an ugly win yesterday, which is fine. There's also ugly losses. The alternative is you lose ugly. So let's win ugly and keep moving on. And if we win every game ugly, then I'll be fine with that too. At the end of the day, I just want these kids to, when they take the uniform on, to know they're going to have another chance to put it on when we take the uniform off after a game. So it's about surviving and figuring out ways to have success. And so that's really what my focus has been this week.
You'll play Maurice Kalu tomorrow. Isaac said he still keeps in touch with him. He said he still keeps in touch with, kind of all of that class that came in with him. What do you remember about recruiting that group? And do you have any fun stories about it? I think you took that group to Italy and to Greece. Do you have any fun stories about that group?
Yeah, that group gave me a few more gray hairs than I hoped to have. I said this when those kids left, man. It's unfortunate, right? So a couple of them made some tough decisions, as young people do sometimes. And, there's consequences. There's a level of accountability in our program that, we don't compromise. I certainly am happy for the guys who've gone on to have success other places. That's always my wish for those guys. I saw Mike Weathers play in his conference tournament championship game. I think he actually basically helped win the game for him. I know he hit the three to send overtime. And I've seen Mo the most since they've left, because he was at Indian Hills last year, and we recruited a kid from up there. And, I always try to wish for the best for those guys. I hate that it didn't work out here, but I'm glad that, a few of them are finding success. I hope they all do, because for me, it's bigger than – it's not about me or what it would have looked like for me. It's about trying to help these guys find success in life. And I hope that from the experiences that they've had with me, and maybe from the decisions that I had to make in consequence of their actions, that they're better people, and that maybe that, those are things that they reflect on if they get into a jam later on in life, that they make better decisions. And if that's the case, then I feel good. And I'm, again, I'd love for him to work out here, but it didn't. And now I want to see him have success. I don't wish Mo very good luck tomorrow, but I wish him luck in any other game that he plays for the rest of his career.
What's kind of the scout on Oregon State? It seems like they're another slow playing team.
It's obviously been watching film for the better part of the last 12 hours or so. There are the classic make a run team in the conference in the NCAA tournament. So they actually didn't have a great regular season. Kind of middled around in the Pac-12, which wasn't a great league overall. And then, I think they made some changes to their lineup, and they figured some things out that worked for their group. And I have not seen a team that's playing more confidently all year. I mean, they're making shots from 10 feet outside the three-point line. They got a big guy who's blocking shots. He was 8 for 8 from the field yesterday. They got great size and versatility. And I think in the last 8 games, they're shooting like 40+% from the three-point line and out-rebounding their opponents. So those are things that we got to be mindful of as we prepare for them, understanding that, again, if we don't do the job, then ball game.
Do you expect to have Bryce available? Kind of what's his status injury?
I hope so. We got a little sick last week, and, the hard part about kind of talking about sicknesses in general, right? You don't want to talk too much specifics about kids' health, but this year is even more challenging because you want people to assume that you got somebody that's got a real issue hanging around. And, he needed a few days to kind of get himself back together. He was able to practice for the first time on Thursday. So he wasn't really in any position to help us play. I've handled all these things the same. When kids can practice, they have a few days that they can go, then hopefully he's ready to go for us tomorrow night. We'll see how he is after practice today, though.
Appreciate it, Mike.
We're getting rather low on time, so I just want to give everybody fair warning on that. But we have time for a couple more. Jenny, go ahead.
Hey, Mike. Isaac, even though he was talking about not seeing Hoosiers, he was also telling us that he watches a lot of UFC and Conor McGregor. And I thought, if there's a guy that I thought would watch Conor McGregor, it might be him. Is that indicative of that guy's personality and just the way he is as a player for you guys?
I guess. I mean, I wouldn't put my money on him in a UFC ring. That's for sure. Not in that arena. I've seen some of those matches. I'll be honest. I'm not sure how this stuff's legal. I've always questioned how some of that stuff is like not against the law. I mean, it got to be like, but I guess if they all agree and they sign waivers, but I always worry about the just brutal nature of that sport. But I know a lot of these guys watch it. It's kind of like the new age boxing. I watched boxing when I was growing up, but this is much more physical and demanding. So.
I agree. I'm not sure I totally get the UFC thing either, but Conor McGregor has a swagger to him, and I kind of see the same thing in Ice. He's a guy that, but yet it's not that he has to do everything. What have you come to sort of learn about just his approach and his style? This was a whole different year with these new guys on this team with him.
Well, he's a winner. That's the thing that I think he values the most is having success. And, a lot of his frustrations over his first couple of years is that he hasn't won at a high level. And, he's had conversations with me about feeling bad for me. And I keep telling him, don't feel bad for me. I'm going to be okay. Like, I want you got a smaller window doing this. Now, I'm not going to be, I think I saw one of the coaches in this deal like 78 years old. I have no idea how you do this at 78 years old. So I'm not going to be around. If you guys are good luck to you, but you'll be talking to somebody else. It won't be across the screen. It'll be in person, but it won't be me. But I admire that Ice cares so much about winning that, he carries that with him and he approaches practice that way. And I think that's a big part of the reason why we've had such a good relationship is because our values are pretty aligned in that regard.
Thanks, Mike.
And we can go a little bit. They can go. I'll catch up with them, Steve.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Will Graves, you are next. Go ahead, Will.
Mike, I appreciate it. For somebody that doesn't watch your team all the time, I said that, last night Cade didn't have a great shooting night, but he found a way to affect the game in a positive fashion. When you have a star like that, is that something that he's always had, or did you have to kind of work with him or just mentally have him mature enough to be like, what, if my shot's not going, I can still do this, that, this, and that, and this and that to help us win?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's had it since he's been here, and I think he's had it for a couple of years now. I'm not sure I identified that first, his maturity and things like that, but I think his understanding of how to affect winning is something that's developed over the last few years as he's been able to play with other really good players. And it started, I think, with his experience at Montverde as a junior. He left Texas to go down to Montverde and play on the national high school program, and he played with some really, really good players there. Several guys that are either playing in the NBA now or is still having an effect in college basketball. And then the same thing last year. And I think that helped him understand, well, if I have enough other guys who are just as talented, then I don't have to carry the load scoring wise. And, he's like Ice. He wants to win. Cade's not going to take 20 bad shots to get his numbers. He's not going to do that. And, he understands that he's got to help his teammates get involved. He's got to rebound. He's got to defend. And I think that's something that kind of goes unnoticed because I think people just expect him to get 25, right? And, I guess an off night getting 15, that was 3 good nights for me in college. And so for him, it's, I don't have it or the double teaming me. I'm going to find the right teammate, make the right play. And I think that's why he's got so much credibility with his teammates. And so when there are those moments where he does take 6 or 7 or 8 shots in a row at the end of the game, like no one's batting an eye or rolling their eyes or waving them off. Everybody's just bought into the coalescence of how it all goes together. Like Cade is a great, great player. He'll be an unbelievable player in the NBA. But we've got some other guys who are all doing this together with him. And that's the reason why we're having the success we're having this year. And I just want to wake up every day and know I get to coach him one more day.
One follow-up. Something you mentioned I thought was interesting. You said your guys you can't even get them to sit down and eat together, because they all want to go back up to their rooms or whatever. I mean, is there a concern, like what would you say, the least social group that you've had? I mean, is there a concern, like, do they like each other? Or, I mean, how do you sort of gauge, and how does that facilitate into a team environment?
I think we've manufactured this. Like I think this whole year has created that. Unfortunately, right? We understand why, but like I don't think they were like this before. Like, and now it's one of the things that I've said before. Like I'm concerned this group of young people, college age kids, like what is it going to be like them from 6 months from now when there are no more mandates like you can't be in groups of 10. Like, are they going to socialize again? I hope they do, because I think it's important. I'm not going to fight them to do it right now as we're trying to finish the season, but it's something that we got to look at. I mean, I'm not getting into a political conversation here, but I think it's important that we understand there's a consequence on both sides. The social interaction of young people is critically important to their development. And at some point, we have to figure out how to find a balance here as we get out of, there's some good stuff coming out, right? These vaccines are getting distributed and things are loosening up in different places. We still got to be smart. But I think that part of why they're the way they are now is because for 10 months, we told them that they had to be that way. We didn't give them a choice. We told them, hey, don't go out. Don't go to your teammate's apartment. Don't hang out with your family. I mean, so, and now kind of they're conditioned to think, you know what, maybe I should I'm fine. I'll just go back to my room and watch Netflix.
Our next question from Garen Emig. Go ahead, Garen.
Mike, the best basketball movie of all time isn't Hoosiers, by the way. It's something called Fast Break. Have you heard of Fast Break?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
You really have heard of it though, because it's
Yeah.
before your time, man. It's late 70s material.
Yep.
Bernard King was the star player.
Yeah. So Bernard King's from Brooklyn, and his brother. My dad's a basketball phenom, so I had no choice. Like I wasn't given a whole lot of choices when it came to understanding the history of college. It's really where the whole John Thompson thing started for me. Like my dad was like, "We cheer for that guy," and I'm like, "Why? Like St. John's is down the street. Why we cheer for Georgetown?"
Yeah. Oh, well, now I want to ask you about Rucker Park and all that stuff. But I tell you what, here's what I'll do. I'll ask you about the Big 12. You said in Kansas City before you left the tournament, you were fed up with having to see those guys. That just where's a coach down, where's a team down clearly. Now, are you thankful for that experience, given the type of basketball you got to play to win in this event?
Yeah, it's the message I sent to our team last night that best prepared. Like I don't want to make it seem like we're better than anybody, but no one's been through more than we have in terms of competitive exposure. And so there's nothing we'll see. No matter how many more games we play in this event, there's nothing that we'll see that will be new to these guys, whether it's size or type of defense or type of offense. We'll have had some experience with it. And I think there is great value in having gone through it. But again, at some point you do get worn down, and we did play 3 games in 3 days,
right?
To try to finish it off, right? That was also, I was on the elevator with Avery coming down just now, and he just talked about how much he feels better today than he did like Saturday last week, having to try to play a 3rd game in 3 days. And so I think there was that benefit of having gone through the league that way.
Yeah, and I know, and this goes without saying probably, but you're not surprised that the league's already kind of flexed, right? 4-0 yesterday. I don't know what Kansas is doing right now, but a lot of comparison between you guys and the Big Ten, and it's I think the Big 12, at least through day one's got a little bit of a leg up, and I know that comes as no surprise to you.
No, not at all. I mean, we feel like we stack up against anybody. Again, we talk about our league all the time. Great coaches, great players, different styles. Congrats to Coach Huggins, win number 900. Again, Hall of Fame material. I don't care what they say in Springfield. That dude's a Hall of Famer, and eventually they'll figure it out too, just like they would Coach Sutton last summer. So kudos to him and all the guys in the league that are doing well.
Okay, thanks.
Let's round it out with Barry Trammell. Go ahead, Barry.
You're on mute still, Barry.
Sorry. Sorry to get the focus on tomorrow's game, but what can you tell me about Oregon State?
They're kind of the prototypical hot team this time of year. Kind of got going at the end of their regular season conference and right into their conference tournament. And if you watch them, you can tell that they're a team that's playing really loose right now. And they're playing to win. They carried a chip in their shoulders. I think part of it, they were picked 12th in the league, which I think is last. And I don't know how many teams there are in the Pac-12. I assume it's 12, but we're the Big 12 and we got 10. So that's neither here nor there. And the Big 10 has like 12, 16 teams. So, but anyway, they're playing really well, playing really confidently, and they carried a chip in their shoulders. They were picked 12th in their league, and then they were 12 seed, and so they kind of got that moniker. They got something that they're hanging their hats on. What it's allowed them to do is play with a lot of confidence, believing that they've gone through this for a couple of weeks now, and if they keep it going the way they play, that they can be the story of the tournament. And our job is to make sure that we stay within ourselves, not get caught up in how they play, continue to try to impose our will in transition, to be able to defend the three at a high level. And, obviously at the end of the day, if we don't rebound and take care of the ball better, we'll have a hard time winning.
Do they like to play fast?
They're more of opportunistic. They're not like us. Like I want the ball down the court in like 5 seconds every trip, no matter how the defensive possession has gone. So they'll run if you turn it over and they clearly have numbers. Other than that, they're very comfortable playing in the half court and working the shot clock a little bit more.
Thanks, Mike.